Okay, a very good evening to all of you. I hope you are ready with the General Clauses Act and interpretation of statutes. Let's see whether we are able to complete this in record time. Good evening, Prathamesh. Good evening, everyone. Okay. Chalo. Are you ready for the general clauses and the interpretation of statutes? Hi, Ananya. Good evening. So, guys, I hope you are preparing well because just 45 days left for your exam. I don't want to scare you, but you need that reminder. वो बार बार याद होना चाहिए. Constantly it should be there that you have to study, you have to study. बहुत ज़्यादा टेंशन मत लो, एंड टेंशन थोड़ा सा तो लेना भी है, बिकॉज टेंशन में ही पढ़ाई होती है. आप कितना भी सोच लो नहीं आई विल से काम एंड ऑल, टेंशन में जो पढ़ाई होती है ना वो रिलैक्स होकर भी नहीं होती. तो आई ऑलवेज टेल कि टेंशन तो होना ही चाहिए. जितनी मर्जी है टेंशन लो, कोई बात नहीं, बट वो टेंशन को डील करके आगे बढ़ते रहो. टेंशन तो अच्छी है, फियर इज गुड. सो सीए में फियर इज गुड. हाय सुहाना. हाय सात्विक. गुड इवनिंग. चलो, let's get started. The General Clauses Act 1897. Yes, Prathamesh, I'm so glad you liked it. अच्छे से यूज करना, उसी में से सारे आपके पॉइंट्स कवर हो जाएंगे. And solve all the questions from the compiler. The entire paper will be from that book only. उसी में से आएगा पूरा पेपर, देखना. एंड आंसर्स भी फुल लेंथ है, सो यू विल कम टू नो कि क्या लिखना चाहिए, कितना लिखना चाहिए. चलो गाइस, let us discuss the General Clauses Act 1897. Now, what is the meaning of the word clause? आपको पता है that section 2 generally relates to definition, and 2 के बाद जो आता है उसको बोलते हैं हम clause. Clause means these are all definitions which have individual meaning. They are not dependent on each other. Hi Shashank. Hi Kirtana. Good evening. Okay. तो जब आप definition पढ़ते हो, you study section 2 and then there is something known as clause. Why is it known as clause and why not subsection? That is because each and every definition is different. It's not dependent on the previous one. इसीलिए उसको clause बोलते हैं, subsection नहीं बोलते. Good evening Jatin, how are you? Long time. कैसी चल रही है पढ़ाई? Okay. So I was saying that clause इसीलिए बोलते हैं because each and every definition is different. Subsection तभी होता है ना when it is dependent on the previous one. Now, these are the definitions which we are going to study in this chapter. और definition क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं हम? वो तो respective act में दी होती है ना. Every act has its own definition. Why are we studying this? See, there are many words which are not defined in the act. You can't define each and every word, no? So, where should we go? For those general words, refer the General Clauses Act. So, what we are discussing are the meaning definition of these generally commonly used words in all the acts. Now if I go to define these words in every act, okay, if I define the word in every act, my act will become very bulky. तो मैं क्या करती हूँ, जो नहीं, बुक में मॉड्यूल की कुछ चीजें मिसिंग होगी बिकॉज इट इज नेवर आस्क्ड इन द एग्जाम, एंड हमारी जो बुक है वो एकदम एग्जाम ओरिएंटेड है. If I wanted to give you the module, I would have printed the module only, no? Why make the notes? Notes are prepared because students जो self study करते हैं for to help them. And I'm telling you one thing, students, very frankly, if you study 100% of the syllabus, you will never pass. This I'm talking out of personal experience. When I had started my CA final studies, I thought कि मैं सब कुछ पढ़ लूँ, each and every word. But in the end, I realized कि उतना मैं अगर पढ़ भी लूँ, I will not be able to revise. So that is why from there on I decided कि नहीं भाई एकदम exam oriented होना चाहिए. Whatever I study I should be able to revise and it should also cover everything. So in my book you will find that everything is given from exam point of view. जो नहीं है वो मत करके जाओ, वो नहीं आएगा exam में. Okay, so don't worry about that because every year the paper is from our books only. तो उसमें कोई tension नहीं है. And study only how much you can revise. ठीक है, चलो. The General Clauses Act, here we are going to study few general definitions. अब for specific definition refer the act, क्योंकि act वो specific definition बोलने ही वाला है आपको. But if you are not able to find the definition, the meaning of that word in that act, इधर देखो ना, यहाँ पे शायद मिल जाएगा. Like what is the meaning of commence? What is good faith? Hi Venkat, Naman, good evening guys. So these are few generally used terms, words, definitions, etc. What is the purpose of this act? It is to provide general definitions. Generally used words are defined here. For specific words, you will definitely find a definition in the respective act. This is for all the central acts and regulations where there is no definition in those acts or regulations. So if there is no definition, you can find it over here. Now, what is the purpose of this act and what is the purpose of the definitions? See, if Companies Act में I have the word director. If I go to define director, explain director, every place wherever it is used, the act will become very bulky. So the act will become very bulky. So instead of defining the word every time wherever it is used, हम क्या करते हैं? We define that word once in the definition section. And once the word is defined, वो कहीं पे भी act में जहाँ पर भी use किया, it is going to have the same meaning. So you are now shortening the language of law. Another way of looking it is like there are certain words which are used in all the acts. Commencement, good faith, ये कितने commonly used words, government, they are used in all the acts. If I go to define them again and again and again, acts will become very bulky. तो हम क्या बोलते हैं? एक जगह पे define कर देते हैं. Why should we define it again and again? So we are trying to shorten the language of law and to avoid repetition. It gives clarification when one word has different meanings in different acts. Now, these acts are drafted by people and not one person is drafting these acts, right? So these acts are drafted by so many different people. Every person will write the act or draft the act in his own having his own interpretation. तो लॉ बोलता है कि अगर सपोज मैंने वो लोगों के इंटरप्रिटेशन पे छोड़ दिया, भाई तुम देख लो, every person will understand the words differently. So I want that people should have a similar understanding of the definition. And लॉ मेकर के बाद जो भी वो एक्ट को अमेंड करने चाहता है, anybody who wants to make changes, they will have the same meaning of those words. That is my aim. So this was the aim of the act. Now I have listed the steps which you need to follow in this act. Step number 1, try to find the definition in the respective act itself. If you are unable to find the definition, then only you will refer the General Clauses Act. So you don't have to come running to the General Clauses Act. It's only when you don't find the definition in the respective act, you will come over here. Another example of how to shorten the language of law. This is very important for exam. Law says that if you write that court will have the authority to appoint, suspend, remove a receiver, you need not write all that. The General Clauses Act says that if a person has the authority to appoint, he only will have the authority to suspend and remove also. Why do you need to specify all that? So, no need to mention all this. It is understood. Hence, we are shortening the language of law because there are certain things which law says are understood. You need not write that. So commonly used words are defined here. It avoids repetition. All the definitions are placed at one place and it brings a lot of uniformity so that everyone will interpret the words in the given sense. Okay. Now, these are few basic things which you need to understand. The first one is a preamble. Please mark this as very, very important for exam because preamble is the most frequently asked question of this chapter. Preamble. And generally theory questions are asked from this chapter. Very rarely you will get case-based questions. And even if you do, they are all standard type of questions. You can refer the compiler for that. Now, what is the meaning of preamble? Preamble is the purpose for which the act has come into force. It is the scope. So what are the keywords that you will highlight? It's a brief summary of the act. If you have any confusion, refer the preamble. Like the preamble of the Companies Act says that it is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to companies. It means it is understood that it is going to consolidate and amend the law related to companies only. Now, if I have a proprietary business, I am confused whether the Companies Act applies to me or not. Law clearly specifies that the Companies Act applies to companies only. It is mentioned in the preamble. That is the purpose of the act. So that preamble brings a lot of clarity. It is a summary. It expresses the scope, object, and purpose of the act. If you have any confusion, you can refer the preamble. It is the main source of understanding for the lawmaker. In case of confusion, preamble will help us to understand. But this is to be used only when the language of the statute is not clear, means there is some confusion in the section. Refer the preamble. It will clarify. Achha, the preamble of the Negotiable Instrument Act says that it is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to promissory note, bill of exchange, and check. From the preamble, we come to know that the act covers only those three negotiable instruments. So see, the preamble brings so much clarity. What is a bill? That's nothing but the draft stage of the act. So what is the keyword that you need to highlight over here? The keyword is draft. So it is draft of the legislative proposal. It means it is draft of the act. So when the act is placed before both the houses of parliament, it is first in the form of a bill. Then it passes through various stages. It is finally approved by both the houses of parliament, approved by the president. Only then it comes into force. Only then the act is enacted. What is the act? Bill when passed by both the houses of parliament and assented by the president. So both the houses, that is Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, both the houses of parliament will have to approve it, and it is assented, it is consented by the president. Only then it will come into force. On getting the assent of the president, the act is then notified in the Official Gazette of India. This Official Gazette is a public document. It is published on weekly basis. It gives all the public announcements. Now, please note, students, if the date of publication in the Official Gazette is given, then this will be considered as the date on which the act commences. But if the date on which the act was notified in the Official Gazette is not given, then the date on which it receives the assent of the president will be considered as the date on which the act comes into force. So if the date of Official Gazette is given, so when it is given, then in that case, when the date of the Official Gazette is given, you will consider that date. But the date on which it receives the, if that is not given, then the date on which the assent is received, that will be considered. Okay. In foundation, okay. Naman, I don't remember, frankly. Actually, there were many Namans in that batch, so I don't remember, but I'm so glad that you were one of the first ones to buy the BCR workbook. Your father, क्या आपका नाम क्या है भाई? What is your name? आपने अपना नाम नहीं लिखा है. See, whatever you are asking ना is asked by people who are not prepared. मुझे नहीं लगता है कि आप बहुत अच्छे से तैयारी कर चुके हो, इसीलिए यू आर आस्किंग दीज क्वेश्चंस कि सिर्फ पास होना जरूरी है या गुड मार्क्स से. कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन द कंटेंट ना, कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन गेनिंग नॉलेज रादर देन थिंकिंग अबाउट दोज थिंग्स. आई डोंट थिंक दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. तो ये सब पे ध्यान दोगे तो कभी पास नहीं होगे फिर. सो कॉन्सेंट्रेट मोर ऑन द कंटेंट रादर देन थिंकिंग कि हम पास होने वाले हैं कि नहीं, कितने मार्क्स से पास होंगे, व्हाट विल हैपन. देन इन दैट केस मीन्स यू आर डिस्ट्रैक्टेड. ओके, नाउ definitions. These are generally included in section 2. Why the word generally is given? Because sometimes it may be included in definition. Definitions may be given in section 3 or 13. So it is generally under section 2. एंड डेफिनेशन का मेन पर्पस क्या है? टू अवॉइड फ्रीक्वेंट रेपिटेशन. मतलब एक ही वर्ड को बार बार एक्सप्लेन करने की जरूरत नहीं है, एक ही बार उसको डिफाइन कर दो. वेरेवर इट इज यूज्ड इन द एक्ट इट विल हैव द सेम मीनिंग. फर्स्ट ट्राई टू फाइंड द डेफिनेशन इन द रिस्पेक्टिव एक्ट. वहां पे नहीं मिलता है, then go to the General Clauses Act. Means and includes, guys, please mark this as important for exam. Means and includes. Okay. Now, whenever we see the word means, it means that they are trying to define the word clearly. Okay, वो define करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. It provides an exhaustive definition. You are trying to do, जैसे कि director means, या और अच्छा include कब होगा? Debenture include, debenture stock. तो meaning means word जब use किया जाता है, it is actually trying to show us what is the meaning of that word. Whereas if you write the word includes, it means वैसे तो और भी बहुत कुछ आ जाएगा. For the time being, it includes this. Okay, so it is inclusive in nature. It is only a prima facie extensive definition. It does not define the word. It is only trying to provide us. It is only trying to provide us with what can be included, and the scope is actually very wide. Okay. What is the meaning of shall and may? I'll give you my personal example over here. When I had started my articleship, so I was given the task of preparing the audit report. And I don't know why in my articleship, then when I started working in a corporate, वो मेरे पास ही आते थे, you prepare the report. And मुझे इतना सोचना पड़ता था ना क्या लिखना चाहिए क्या लिखना. It's very easy to edit, but it is so difficult to create. So that was the first report which I had prepared, and I had written the management should, this one should, that must. So my senior called me and said, see, you are an article. You can't write these words in your report. Management should, you must. See, we know that we want them to do it, but it should be written in a polite language, no? So then they made me change from should to shall. Must became some, in some places, again it became shall. Now, the word shall is actually a better word for should. It's a politer word for should. It shows that you have to do it, but only thing is I'm saying politely. The word may actually shows discretion. मतलब किया तो किया, नहीं किया तो it's okay. कोई ऐसे कोई तुमको जेल में नहीं डालने वाला है, and कोई फाइन भी नहीं लगने वाली है. But हाँ, wherever the word shall is written, if you don't perform that act, फिर आपको penalties लग सकती हैं. So shall actually raises the presumption that is mandatory, imperative. वो तो करना ही करना है आपको. It is only a politer word of should. हाँ, लेकिन may जो word है, it shows discretion. करना है करो, नहीं करना है, it's your wish. Even if you don't follow, we are not going to punish you. We are not going to impose any penalty. आपकी मर्जी है. So it confers discretionary power. It is not mandatory. It is only directing, enabling. मतलब optional है. कोई आपको जेल में नहीं डालने वाला अगर आपने follow नहीं किया तो. And कोई fine भी नहीं लगेगा if it is may. This is important. May and shall is also important for exam. May and shall is also important. What is the meaning of the word act? Now, whenever I say the word act, आपके ध्यान में आता है Contract Act, Sale of Goods Act, Partnership Act, Companies Act. I'm not talking about those acts. Here, the meaning of the word act is action. And action can be both positive as well as negative. What we are talking about over here, what we are discussing is the negative act, that is a negative action. Okay, it can also be offense. So, act over here means action. It can be offense or civil wrong. Civil means it is not criminal. How will I know whether it is civil or criminal? See, guilty mind, mens rea is seen. तो अगर आपका गिल्टी माइंड है, अगर आपका एम चीटिंग है, तो वो क्रिमिनल है, अदरवाइज इट इज सिविल. So here what we are talking is the negative act, negative action. So any offense, civil wrong. It also includes a series of acts and words. Now let's say for example that X kidnapped Y. Okay, उसने उसको kidnap कर लिया, kidnap किया, उसको मारा, then abuse किया, did not give food, and spoke words which were harsh, mentally torture kiya. So these are all series of acts. Okay, so kidnapping, not giving food, then mental torture, or you are trying to abuse the right of a person. These are all series of acts. So that is also included over here. It includes illegal omissions also, like to mentally abuse someone is an act. Not to give food, that is omission. Both are included over here. Both are included. So here what we are trying is to define the negative act. It may be a single act. It may be a series of acts. That's perfectly fine. we are also including words, not just action. See, the word act shows action, but here it is not just action, it is words also. It covers illegal omissions. We are only talking about the negative acts, so it includes illegal omissions also. Illegal omissions here are not giving food, not doing something which you are legally bound to do. This applies to both civil as well as criminal wrong. Okay, so here the word offense includes criminal, and civil, that is only when damages are required to be paid. There is no imprisonment. Affidavit, please highlight this as important for exam because this is very frequently asked. Define affidavit. Affidavit means you are saying कि मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो सच है. Whatever I have written on this document is true, accurate, correct to the best of my knowledge. Like you remember when you were kids and school में आप बोलते थे अरे I will bring, and the friend would say तू लिख के दे, तेरा कोई भरोसा नहीं, तू भूल जाएगा, you write and give it to me. You know we used to say that ना, you write and give it to me, तू लिख के दे, because you don't trust that person. वो भूल गया तो हम बोलते नहीं तू लिख के दे. That is nothing but an affidavit. You are asking the person to write कि वो जो बोल रहा है वो करेगा. So affidavit will include affirmation, declaration. It is inclusive in nature. It is not defining affidavit. It only says that affidavit includes affirmation. It includes declaration, that whatever I am declaring, whatever I have mentioned is true. हाँ, जैसे स्टैम्प पेपर हो गया, you mention it. स्टैम्प पेपर क्यों होता है? Because then I am going to get it notarized. मैं गवर्नमेंट एजेंट के पास मैं उसको रजिस्टर कर रही हूँ कि नहीं वो पर्सन ने ये बोला है. एंड एफिडेविट भी स्टैम्प पेपर पे ही होता है, बट यू राइट एंड गिव वॉट एवर यू आर सेइंग इज ट्रू, तो उसको लीगल बाइंडिंग आ जाती है. एफिडेविट इज अ रिटन स्टेटमेंट. इट कैन बी यूज्ड एज एन एविडेंस इन द कोर्ट. हैव यू सीन दैट सीरीज सूट्स देखा है? सूट्स, in that you must have heard of this word affidavit. I've got an affidavit, बस बात खत्म. It means the person has written and given. वो बात हुई थी, it had happened, he has written and given. That is a confirmation. Affirmation means that I am confirming, I am affirming, मतलब I am saying positively ऐसा हुआ था, या I am very positive ऐसा नहीं हुआ था. I am writing and giving it. अच्छा, सेंट्रल एक्ट वो सब नहीं आएगा आपको, but just to explain it to you, Central Act means the act of parliament, but this is possible only after the constitution was made, because parliament came into existence only after 1950. That is when our constitution was made. So over here, before 26 Jan 1950, whatever was pre-constitution, and after 26 Jan 1950, that is the date when our constitution was made, then that is known as post-constitution. Okay. Central government, again not very important for exam. Commencement. I want to know when does the act commence. So the act will commence. Okay, commencement means the date on which the act or regulation comes into force. So if the date, you tell me now, date is given of the date of the official gazette is given, मतलब मुझे पता है ये डे पे वो official gazette में publish हुई थी. So then what will be the date of commencement? Tell me. Yes. So if the date of official gazette is given, okay, if the date is mentioned, then yes, that will be the date of commencement. And if the date is not mentioned कि official gazette में कब हुआ तो notify, then we will consider the date on which it received the assent of president. This is important, ये आता है exam में. Document super duper important. You need to memorize these provisions. You have to memorize the provisions. Document and by heart कर लो, वो definition आता ही आता है. It is definitely 100% asked in the exam. Now, what is the meaning of the word document? See, when I used to go for articleship, that time, when I used to go for articleship, so my senior would always tell me, document this. पहले तो मेरे को समझा ही नहीं. Document मतलब take a Xerox and put it in the file. Or whatever notes you are preparing, put it in the file. Document it मतलब लिख के करो, proof रखो, ओके, सो टू डॉक्यूमेंट मीन्स टू राइट. किधर लिखेंगे, किधर भी लिखो, पेपर, पार्चमेंट, फ्लॉपी, सीडी, पेन ड्राइव, किधर भी लिखो, कंप्यूटर सोर्स, राइट इट एनीवेयर, बट देयर शुड बी अ प्रूफ कि वो काम हुआ था. So it is any matter written, expressed, described upon any substance. Like पुराने ज़माने में they would have these paintings on in the caves. That caves पे जो painting थी, it is a documentation of what was their lifestyle, what they would do in a day. अच्छा, do you know Varli painting? Varli painting is a documentation of the village life. So these paintings, हाँ, हाथ पे लिखा and let's say the person wrote something and then he died. That will be also considered as an evidence. It is documenting the fact. It is documenting on any surface. By me, but that happens under exceptional circumstances. You cannot ignore the facts and circumstances of the case. Acha, by means of letters, figures, or more than one of these means, you go to Egypt. There you will find on stones, there are so many things which are written. वो कोई language तो है नहीं, but it was signs and symbol, the language which was used that time. अच्छा, war memorials हो गए. It is a proof कि war हुई थी. These were the people who sacrificed their life. इतने soldiers थे, इतने died. It is a proof. It is an evidence that the event occurred. Audit working papers. These are documents. Yes. They are intended to be used or they may be used for the purpose of recording that matter. So you record on any surface. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Paper, cloth, wall, caves में, stone पे, किधर भी कर दो. But it will not include Indian currency note, because Indian currency note also mentions many events. No, that will not be considered as a document. ठीक है. Then we have the meaning of the word financial year. अरे ये तो super important है. ये भी बहुत बार पूछते हैं एग्जाम में. See, whenever I say the word year, it means calendar year, and financial year, it means it commences on whenever I say the word year, okay, year, it means calendar year, British calendar, 1st Jan to December. But whenever I say financial year, it begins on 1st day of April and it ends on 31st of March. Good faith. देखो, if you have the definition of good faith, तो वो refer करो अपना act. Partnership Act defines good faith. Okay, Partnership Act defines good faith. Then you need not come to the General Clauses Act. जरूरत ही नहीं है. हाँ, Partnership Act is silent. या कोई दूसरा एक्ट साइलेंट है, जैसे सेल ऑफ गुड्स एक्ट, उसमें तो गुड फेथ डिफाइन नहीं किया. इधर आके देखो ना. सो थिंग विल बी गुड फेथ इफ इट इज डन ऑनेस्टली. सो दीज आर द की वर्ड्स. ऑनेस्टली, वेदर इट इज डन नेग्लिजेंटली और नॉट. मैंने अपने दिल से किया है, गुड फेथ में किया है. जैसे आपने वो एड देखी है, अ ग्रैंडसन इज पॉलिशिंग द शूज ऑफ ग्रैंडफादर. उसकी पूरी टी शर्ट गंदी हो जाती है और माँ बोलती है कोई बात नहीं, सर्फ एक्सेल है ना, या एरियल, आई डोंट नो कौन सी एड है वो. तो शी इज नॉट एंग्री कि उसने शर्ट गंदी कर दी. क्यों? अरे गुड फेथ में किया था ना, थोड़ा नेग्लिजेंट हो गया तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है. ही वॉज अ लिटिल नेग्लिजेंट, टी शर्ट इज डर्टी, बट ही एक्टेड इन गुड फेथ ना. तो ऑनेस्टली किया है ना, अच्छे इंटेंशन से किया है ना, वेदर यू आर नेग्लिजेंट और नॉट. अभी यू वेंट टू बाय अ केक फॉर योर मदर्स बर्थडे. यू वर कमिंग ऑन द स्कूटर एंड आपने केक हाथ में रखा, ऐसे 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 हो गया एंड इट गॉट स्पॉइल्ड. So you couldn't make out what the image was. When you came home, you told your mom happy birthday and she opened the box and the cake was in a mess. But she won't scold you, no, because you did it in good faith. दाग अच्छे है. Yes. So good faith, वो क्या है? It is a question of fact. It depends on the facts and circumstances of the case. See, you should be negligent. मतलब I was careful, पर थोड़ी गड़बड़ हो गई अभी उसमें. I didn't do it in malafide, मतलब bad faith. But this definition does not apply when the rules, regulations and law already contain a definition. जैसे Partnership Act में good faith is defined. So I will not refer this definition. I will refer the definition which is given in that respective act. Government. Sometimes the act is so vague, na? They only write the word government. अरे which government? Central or state? Law बोलता भी, how can I say? It depends on the context in which it is used. It is very difficult for us to specify. So context देखो. Immovable property, important for case based as well as theory question. Okay, case based and theory question. Now immovable property में क्या आएगा? It includes land, benefits arising out of land like crops, grass, food grains, trees. Things which are attached to earth, again it comes trees, crops, these are attached to earth. They are permanently fastened to anything attached to earth. Jaise na, I have a machinery and I have attached it to bolts. Okay, these are all bolts in the ground. I dug a hole, I placed the machinery and I have screwed it. So I have attached to the ground. Or maybe I have attached something, like say for example, this is a machine and here this is outside. Okay, this is outside, it's not inside, it's outside. I have fixed it to some pole so that it doesn't move. So all that makes the property immovable. Acha, permanently fixed furniture, that is also immovable. Trees, crops, building, machinery fixed to the soil, right of way of access from one place to another. So these are two buildings, they are connected by this, a path. This is also considered as immovable property. It is a way to go from one building to the other. Exact definition is not required. Thoda idhar udhar chalega. That's okay. Imprisonment. Okay, whenever I say the word imprisonment, my next question is it simple imprisonment or rigorous imprisonment? सिंपल या रिगरस? अरे वो तो क्राइम पे डिपेंड करता है, डिपेंड्स ऑन द कोर्ट, वो डिसाइड करेगा कौन सा है. रिगरस है ही सिंपल है. सिंपल मतलब क्या होता है कि नॉट अ मोर मैनुअल लेबर. रिगरस मतलब बहुत मैनुअल लेबर इन्वॉल्व है उसमें, तो वो कोर्ट के ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा. ऑफिशियल गैजेट, इट मीन्स द गैजेट ऑफ इंडिया या द ऑफिशियल गैजेट ऑफ द स्टेट. इट इज नथिंग बट अ पब्लिक अनाउंसमेंट. देखो, द प्रेसिडेंट अप्रूव्ड द एक्ट. ओके, द प्रेसिडेंट अप्रूव्ड द एक्ट. हमको पता चला, आपको पता चला एक्ट आया है कोई, you have to publish it, no? Only then people will come to know. तो publish कैसे करोगे? ऑफिशियल गैजेट, इट्स एन ऑफिशियल अनाउंसमेंट बाय द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. पहले बुक प्रिंट होती थी, अभी डिजिटल है सब. सो इट्स अ पब्लिक जर्नल गिविंग पब्लिक अनाउंसमेंट्स. इट इज ऑथराइज्ड लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट. इट इज पब्लिश्ड वीकली. इट इज ऑथेंटिक, एक्यूरेट. इट कवर्स द गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज, डिसीजंस. Fish underwater, no, because it is benefits, not benefits arising out of land. Things which are attached to earth, no, that will not come. But I think ऐसा कुछ, if I'm not wrong, आपके मॉड्यूल में एक कुछ ऐसा बहुत ही वेग क्वेश्चन है. आई रिमेंबर स्टडिंग दैट. आई डोंट नो उन्होंने क्या सोच के वो डाला था. लेट मी जस्ट सी, बिकॉज आपके मॉड्यूल में ऐसा बहुत ही वियर्ड क्वेश्चन है. They say it is benefits. Let me just check what they had mentioned. Yeah, they had this, decide whether the right to catch or carry fish is movable or immovable property. ऐसा बहुत ही vague सा question था. तो fish does not come under the definition of under that category. Of the definition. Fish is regarded as benefit arising out of land. It follows that immovable property. Okay. Acha, they are saying whether the right to catch or carry fish, that right, whether it is movable or immovable property as per the Transfer of Property Act. So they saying that it includes land, benefits arising out of land, but section 3 of the Transfer of Property Act, it does not define the term except say that immovable does not include standing timber, growing crop, or does not include standing timber, growing crop or grass. So fish does not come under that category and therefore it is considered as benefit arising out of land. So मेरे को तो बिल्कुल convincing नहीं लगा था, but that is what is mentioned in the act. So yes, right to catch fish, that right is considered as immovable property. Okay, that right is considered. Okay, next let us go through coming into operation or enactment. Yes, so Prathamesh. Yeah, fish is movable, but they are not talking about fish. What they are talking about is the right to catch fish. They are not talking whether fish is movable or not. they are talking about the right to catch fish. That right is immovable. See, now how will you define that? मेरे पास right है as a fisherman, मेरे पास license है, मैंने लिया, I can fish over here. I can't transfer that to some other person, क्योंकि वो pond तो उधर ही रहने वाला है, fish तो उधर ही रहने वाली है. That is the logic which they have applied. So that right they are considering as immovable. Acha, right to coming into operation of the enactment, this I have discussed with you. Effective date of rules is the date on which they are published in the official gazette. Acha, commencement and termination of time, yes, it is the legal right which they're talking. Acha, commencement of time and termination of time, important for case based question. इस पे case based आता है और वो so same questions आते हैं every time. Now, if I ask you to calculate 30 days from the 1st of April, 30 days from the 1st of April, so will you include 1st April? No, हम bills of exchange में करते थे ना, bills of exchange में the first day is excluded and the last day is included. तो वही है यहाँ पर, फ्रॉम का जो पीरियड है वो एक्सक्लूड करना है और टू का जो पीरियड है वो इंक्लूड करना है. जेंडर एंड नंबर, ओके, आई एम नॉट गोइंग एज पर द सेक्शन एक्चुअली. 5, देन वी शुड गो टू 6. चलो रिपील का लेते हैं. चलो, आई हैव नॉट गॉन सेक्शन वाइज. जेंडर एंड नंबर, अच्छा, ये केस बेस्ड क्वेश्चन में आता है. Number also comes as case-based questions. Case-based question में आता है. Yes, last day is included, first day is excluded. Gender, male includes female also. अभी मैंने आपको बोला chairman. Next question is, can we appoint a woman? Of course you can. The word chairman, the male gender includes female also. अच्छा, सिंगुलर इंक्लूड्स प्लूरल एंड वाइस वर्सा. मैंने आपको बोला यू कैन नॉट बी अपॉइंटेड एज KMP ऑफ एनी अदर कंपनी एक्सेप्ट द सब्सिडरी ऑफ द कंपनी इन विच यू आर KMP. ओके, सो लेट्स से मिस्टर X was KMP in one company. Okay, he was a KMP in one company. We can't allow him to be KMP in any other company, but we can allow him to be a KMP in the subsidiary of the same company. Arey baba, but I have 2 subsidiaries. Can he be KMP in both? Yes, because singular includes plural also. Singular includes plural. Let's discuss repeal. Repeal, okay. What is the effect of repeal? Now, repeal means to remove. Okay? Repeal means to remove. There is a difference between the word repeal and delete. See, repeal means मैंने उसको जड़ से निकाल दिया, root से निकाल दिया. As if the provision, the act never existed. Delete, I'm not removing it completely. I may bring it back later. Now, repeal means to remove the act as if it never existed. And what is the object of repeal? It is to eradicate or remove the act. Now, why are acts repealed in the first place? देखो क्या होता है that sometimes the act का जो purpose है ना वो खत्म हो जाता है. जैसे amendment act है. What is the purpose of the amendment act? To bring amendments. That purpose is over. I don't need that act anymore. Repeal it. The act is very old. Nowadays, nobody uses it. Repeal it, na? So in this case, repeal is generally when the purpose of the act is over or it is so old that it is no longer relevant. Repeal कर दो. मोदी गवर्नमेंट ने around 180 acts repeal की थी. Okay, because they were no longer required. अच्छा. Repeal any acts made or yet to be made, ठीक है, as if the act never existed. Now, the repeal shall not, okay, repeal shall not revive anything which is not in force or prevailed during the period repeal is effected. Now tell me one thing, अरे जो इफेक्ट में था ही नहीं उसको रिपील कैसे करोगे? जो एग्जिस्ट करता ही नहीं उसको रिपील कैसे करोगे? सो थिंग्स विच वर नॉट इन एग्जिस्टेंस, द एक्ट विच वी थॉट हाँ अभी लाएंगे, बिल स्टेज में है, लेकर आएंगे ना, उसको रिपील कर दिया. अरे जो जो एक्ट ही नहीं था उसको कैसे रिपील करोगे? नॉट पॉसिबल. इट विल नॉट अफेक्ट दैट. It will not affect the previous operation of enactment so repealed or anything done or suffered thereat. अरे listen, मुझे ना एक एक्ट में पनिशमेंट हुई थी, I have to pay a fine of 10,000. Now the act is repealed. अरे चलो यार, I need not pay 10,000 rupees fine. Hello, the act is repealed, but whatever actions, penalties, cases were filed before repeal, they will stay as it is. They will not be affected by repeal. It will not affect any right, privilege, obligation, liability obtained under the legislation so repealed. I had a right to receive, let's say, compensation or damages from the other party. My act got repealed. Arey, don't worry, it will not affect your right. It will not affect any privilege. It will not affect any liability obtained under the legislation so repealed. It will not affect any penalty, punishment, forfeiture incurred with regards to any offense. It will not affect any inquiry, litigation, remedy which has been initiated, continued or insisted. In short, जो काम मैंने रिपील से पहले शुरू किया था वो हम कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं. Tomorrow we don't have class. It will be on Monday now. Tomorrow and day after. Saturday, Sunday छुट्टी है, weekend मनाओ. Okay. Repeal making textual amendment in the act or regulation. Where any central act or regulation made after the commencement repeals any enactment by which any text of the act was amended by express omission, insertion or substitution, then unless a different intention appears, it will not affect the continuance of any such amendment made by the enactment so repealed and in operation at the time of repeal. Now, अभी मैंने जो एक्ट बनाई थी, ओके, उसको मैंने रिपील कर दिया. I had enacted something and then I repealed it, but that has made some textual amendments in the act or regulation. Repeal से उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला है. So if I have expressly omitted, inserted or substituted anything in that act, repeal is not going to affect it. So repeal of act making textual amendments. Then revival. Okay, what is the meaning of revival? गलती हो गई, मैंने रिपील किया, अभी गलती सुधार रहे हैं. Okay, so revival of the repeal. I am realizing my mistake. I shouldn't have repealed the act, but it was just a mistake. मैं क्या करूं? So now I am trying to revive it. So if in any central act or regulation made after the commencement, it is necessary to revive either wholly or partially, आप कर सकते हो. What we are asking from you is only the intention or purpose for doing so. बाकी आपको कुछ justification देने की जरूरत नहीं है. Just let us know what is the intention and what is the purpose for reviving it. ठीक है. Every construction of references. Now, Income Tax Act में, ठीक है, Income Tax Act में सेक्शन 115 JB है. इन दैट पहले था कि बुक प्रॉफिट्स आर टू बी कैलकुलेटेड एज पर, बुक प्रॉफिट्स आर टू बी कैलकुलेटेड एज पर कंपनीज एक्ट 1956. अब कंपनीज एक्ट 1956 तो रिपील हो गया, उसके बदले तो 2013 एक्ट आ गया. लेकिन वी फॉरगॉट टू मेक दैट चेंज इन द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट. तो लॉ बोलता है कि अरे गलती हो गई होगी, यू मस्ट हैव फॉरगॉटन. Here they are still mentioning the 1956 Act doesn't mean that you now have to calculate the book profits as per the 1956 Act. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. They must have forgotten, ना? So you will calculate the profits as per the 2013 Act only. That is what it is clarified. Revival means not rectification. Revive means to bring back. Okay, to bring back. मैंने पहले रिपील कर दिया था, निकाल दिया था, फिर मैं वापस ले आई. दैट इज रिवाइवल. अच्छा, here I would like to give you an example because बिना example के वो समझ में नहीं आएगा आपको. It will just take 2 minutes. Now, I mentioned to you earlier that mostly the amendments are repealed. Okay, what does it mean? Let's say I have the Companies Amendment Act 2015. Now the Companies Amendment Act 2015 has proved its purpose. उसका purpose हो गया है. It made amendments in the 2013 Act. वो कर दिया. अब इसका कोई यूज नहीं है ना. इसको रिपील करो. चलो रिपील करो. अरे ये रिपील हो गया. Does it mean कि ये जो अमेंडमेंट करके गया था वो भी रिपील हो गया? That's not the case. You are only repealing the Amendment Act. The amendments which it carried out in the 2013 Act, they will remain as it is. ठीक है, तो अमेंडमेंट्स पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. ये एक्ट जो अपना काम था वो करके इसका काम हो गया, इसका पर्पस खत्म हो गया, इसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है, इसको रिपील कर दो. Okay, then we have computation of time. Do you remember that we can file case within 3 years in case of debt, law of limitation? Now that 3 years are getting over on 30th October, but unfortunately the courts are closed on that date. कोई बात नहीं, courts बंद है ना. Then you can still file a case on the next day on which the court is open. Simple. So if suppose I have time to file a case within 30 days, 60 days, 3 months, 3 years, and the last day on which I have to file a case, वो दिन पे courts बंद है, तो file on the next day. Measurement of distance, आप ऐसे distance रहेगा तो भी straight line में ही उसको measure करोगे. Okay, it will be measured in a straight line on a horizontal plane. Sometimes I want to know कि courts का jurisdiction क्या है. तो मैं क्या बोलती हूँ कि it will have 1000 kilometers का. तो 1000 kilometer कैसे calculate करेंगे? Straight line. Last part, and I think we should stop after this. Interpretation थोड़ा time लगेगा and it is already late. We'll do this only. Interpretation we can do it on Monday. अच्छा, very quickly. Power conferred can be exercisable from time to time. जब जरूरत पड़ेगी आपको power दी है, exercise कर सकते हो. Power to appoint will include power to appoint ex officio. Now, what is the meaning of ex officio? Ex officio means because of the office. आप उस ऑफिस में हो इसीलिए आप मेरी ऑब्वियस चॉइस बन जाते हो. नाउ लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल कि मैंने ना मेरे कॉलेज में एक एनुअल फंक्शन ऑर्गेनाइज किया था. द चीफ गेस्ट कैंसल ऑन द लास्ट मिनट. नाउ देयर आर 3 ऑप्शंस. One is I can request the principal to be the chief guest. I can request some teacher, or there is a peon standing. My obvious choice will be the principal. Na? If the chief guest has cancelled, I will tell principal, ma'am, aap ban jao na chief guest. Now, why is she an obvious choice? Because of her office. That's it. Acha, teachers are planning the annual function. उन्होंने एक committee बनाई है. They can't tell principal, ma'am, no, you are not a teacher. You will not be a part of that committee. वो principal है boss. वो तो automatically part होएगी ना. So if you want to appoint someone in a particular position, तो उसमें आप ex officio को भी appoint कर सकते हो. Who's the next best option? हाँ, चल तेरे को appoint कर देते हैं. Power to appoint will include power to suspend and dismiss also. You need not mention that again and again. That is the main purpose of the general clauses. Actually, shorten the language of law. If I have given you the authority to appoint, you also have the authority to remove, suspend. It's understood. Substitution of functionaries. Now, this time my CEO is Mr. Iyer. My CFO is Mr. Sharma. Now, in the act, I can't write Mr. Iyer and Mr. Sharma. Na? अरे आज ये CEO है, CFO, they may change. So instead of writing the name, I will only mention the designation or their function. So for the purpose of indicating the application to every person, it is sufficient if we mention the official title of the office. Successors. Now, गवर्नमेंट ने ना एक प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट किया था, वो कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ फ्लाईओवर. ठीक है, अभी गवर्नमेंट चेंज हो गई, 5 साल खत्म, गवर्नमेंट चेंज. इनके जो सक्सेसर्स हैं, दे कैन कंटिन्यू द project as if it was started at their time only. So it is sufficient for indicating that the successor of any functionaries of the corporation having perpetual succession to express its relation to the functionaries or corporation. Simple है ये कि हमने आपके टाइम पे वो प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट किया था. नाउ गवर्नमेंट हैज चेंज, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो कंटिन्यू है ना, कंट्री तो चल ही रही है ना, तो अब जो न्यू अपॉइंट हुआ है वो ये सब मैनेज कर लेगा ना. तो यू जस्ट नीड टू मेंशन द फंक्शन, बाकी कुछ रिक्वायर्ड ही नहीं है उधर. अभी लेट्स से कि एक एडवाइजरी बोर्ड था, कि देयर वाज एन एडवाइजरी बोर्ड. इसका जो टर्म है वो खत्म हो गया, अब न्यू एडवाइजरी बोर्ड आ गया. हाँ तो ठीक है ना, जो पेंडिंग केसेस थे वो अब न्यू एडवाइजरी बोर्ड हैंडल करेगा, उसमें क्या होता है. देन ऑफिशियल चीफ्स एंड सबऑर्डिनेट्स. अब मिस्टर प्राइम मिनिस्टर वॉज प्रेसिडेंट लेती हूँ. मिस्टर प्रेसिडेंट वॉज इन्वाइटेड at an event, but unfortunately he could not attend it. So he asked the vice president to go. Now the provisions which are applicable to president will automatically apply to the vice president, na? See, vice president, you are now stepping in the shoes of the senior. तो भाई जो senior की obligation है वही तुम्हारी obligation है फिर. The law relating to chief or superior applies to deputies or subordinates also. अच्छा, now listen. In my office, there is a rule that you cannot call personal numbers through the landline. You cannot have ISD calls foreign में. अभी वो senior को अगर अप्लाई करता है तो वो junior को भी अप्लाई करेगा ना. So rules are there for everyone. अगर senior के लिए rules हैं वही exact same rules junior के लिए भी हो जाएंगे ना. अच्छा, we were only discussing about the act. But act is supported by rules, orders, publications, notifications. उनका क्या? So now we are going to discuss about that. See, provisions as to the construction of orders, etc. Now what is the meaning of this word etc? See, it is given here only. etc में क्या आएगा? Notification, order, scheme, rule, form, bylaws. So it means that if you have the power to issue notification, orders, rules, bylaws, then they will have the same respective meaning as given in the act. Confusing लगता है? बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. अब मेरा जो rule है ना, rule, in that I have used the word director. Now I don't know what is the meaning of the word director. एक काम करो ना, is the rule defining it? Search that rule. Is it defining it? No, the rule is not defining. ये रूल कौन से एक्ट का है? कंपनीज एक्ट. हाँ तो देखो ना, कंपनीज एक्ट में है क्या डेफिनेशन? हाँ है ना, डायरेक्टर इज डिफाइंड. सेम डेफिनेशन ले लो. सो द डेफिनेशन विच इज गिवन इन द एक्ट will automatically applies to rules, notification, orders, bylaws of that act, na? Power to issue will include the power to add, amend, rescind, vary, etc. अब आपके पास इशू करने की राइट है तो यू विल हैव द राइट टू अमेंड एंड नोटिफिकेशन, अमेंड, वेरी एंड कैंसिल द नोटिफिकेशन ऑल्सो ना. तो जो अपॉइंट करेगा, जो लॉज बनाएगा, वही उसको अमेंड करेगा. इट्स अंडरस्टूड. अच्छा, ये केस बेस्ड क्वेश्चन में आता है, अ पर्सन कैन नॉट बी पनिश्ड फॉर द सेम ऑफेंस ट्वाइस. मतलब एक ही ऑफेंस के लिए आप दो एक्ट्स में पनिश नहीं किए जा सकते. अब एक एग्जाम्पल ले लेते हैं, दैट देयर इज मिस्टर एक्स, ही इज पनिशेबल under the Income Tax Act as well as the Advocates Act. Now, I can't punish him for the same offense twice. तो या तो आप उसको एडवोकेट एक्ट में पनिश कर दो या आप उसको इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में पनिश कर दो, दोनों में नहीं कर सकते. हाँ, लेकिन उसका जो ऑफेंस है, मैंने आपको बताया था ना, इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ सीरीज, वो भी आता है. लाइक एक पर्सन ने किसी लड़की को किडनैप किया, उसका रेप किया, मोलेस्ट किया, उसको फूड नहीं दिया और उसका मर्डर करने की कोशिश की. ठीक है, Now these are all series of acts. You may be punished for one offense in one act, इसके लिए दूसरा एक्ट वो चलेगा, लेकिन जो सेम ऑफेंस है जैसे किडनैपिंग, यू कैन नॉट बी पनिश्ड फॉर द सेम ऑफेंस ट्वाइस. हाँ, सीरीज है तो वो सीरीज में आपको ये एक्ट के लिए ये जो किडनैप है उसके लिए एक एक्ट अप्लाई कर दिया, रेप के लिए दूसरा कर दिया, फूड नहीं दिया तो ओमिशन लगा दिया, वो चलेगा. बट एक ही पर्टिकुलर एक्शन के लिए यू कैन नॉट बी पनिश्ड ट्वाइस. This is super duper important, most frequently asked question. अब what is the meaning of service by post? कितनी सारे documents होते हैं ना which we send by post. Now let's say for example that मेरा एक tenant है and I sent him that income tax department ने उसको कुछ letter भेजा and tenant ने बोला नहीं नहीं मैं तो ओनर नहीं हूं, आई एम ओनली टेनेंट, आई विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट दिस इनकम टैक्स नोटिस. वो ओनर के पास जाओ, मुझे नहीं पता. सो कैन वी से दैट द नोटिस वाज राइटफुली सर्व टू द ओनर? व्हाट वाज माय क्वेश्चन. ओनर ने एक टेनेंट रखा था, इनकम टैक्स का नोटिस आया, ये बोलता है नहीं 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 मैं ओनर नहीं हूं, आई विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट दिस, आई डोंट वांट दिस. कैन वी से दैट इट इज प्रॉपरली सर्व्ड ऑन द ओनर? लॉ बोलता है यस, provided it was properly addressed, stamp was prepaid, हमने registered post से भेजा है and जो टाइम पे पहुंचना चाहिए था वो टाइम पे पहुंच गया. 4 दिन लगते हैं उधर पहुंचने को, पहुंच गया था 4 दिन में. letter will be letter containing the document to have been effected at the time when the letter would have been delivered in the ordinary course of post अगर 4 दिन में जाता है तो तेरा registered post तो 4 दिन में पहुंच ही जाएगा ना. so here we will assume कि मैंने properly बताया है उसको, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं लग रही है मुझे. So students, with this we complete the General Clauses Act. Most of the important points I have already covered. बहुत फटाफट rapidly हमने कर लिया था ये. Tomorrow we don't have a class and we don't have even on Sunday. I will meet you directly on Monday at 7 o'clock. ठीक है, तो हम लोग interpretation of statutes कर लेंगे and we will also revise. We will start with Companies Act. ठीक है, we'll start with Companies Act from Monday. So I hope to see you there on Monday. ठीक है, enjoy your weekend, पढ़ते रहना और कुछ मत करना and Monday मिलेंगे, Companies Act start करेंगे. ये interpretation is just 2 pages. It will take me around 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. Okay, then after that I will start with Companies Act. चलो students, bye bye. I'll see you on Monday. ठीक है, good night everyone. Study, stay safe. घर पे ही रहो, पढ़ते रहो and टाइम टेबल बना के पढ़ो. या अच्छा सा टाइम टेबल बनाओ, 12 घंटे बैठो सो दैट यू एंड अप इफेक्टिवली स्टडिंग फॉर 6 to 8 hours. उतना टाइम तो डालना ही है आपको. ओके, सो आई विल सी यू ऑन मंडे एट 7 o'clock. बाय गाइज, गुड